Good morning. Welcome to all panelists to this particular series. And thank you for taking time to join us, Cristina, Max, and Stephen. So to all the audiences that are actually live with us on YouTube right now, thank you for taking your time to join us this morning on this particular topic of the Leadership During Crisis Summit series on episode 29, Online Communities as a Way to Thrive in the Future. We have Miss Cristina Reclamado from Philippines. She is the creator and community manager of HR Shouts and Whisper, a non-profit community for HR advocates which produces podcasts and content encouraging information exchange between the non-HR and HR professionals. She's also the executive in charge of HR and administration of e-commerce Global Integrated Innovations Inc. And she's also the current managing director and head trainer of Imperial Global Crest Excellence Corporation in Philippines. And we have Mr. Max Henry, who is based in Shanghai, but he travels a lot, like he mentioned earlier on before we went live, across Asia, especially between China and Hong Kong. And he's the founder of Entrepreneur, a platform that he specializes in connecting entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, and digital marketers with their industry peers. And also, he's the executive director of Supply Chain Council, and he has been actively engaged for the past 22 years in developing supply chain and logistics solutions for both overseas SMEs as well as foreign invested companies in China. And finally, we have our next panelist, Mr. Stephen Koh from Singapore, who is the founder of Community of Learning Singapore, a social learning Facebook group community with over 4,000 leaders and professionals aiming to learn, excel, and share together. He currently is the founder and CEO of Trillion Training Private Limited, a soft skills training provider. And he's very active in the community. Stephen is the lead of Facebook Community Leaders, Leadership Circles for Singapore with over 150 community leaders. And he's also the chair of Special Interest Group for Social Learning at the Institute for Adult Learning, Singapore. Thank you and welcome to all our three panelists for being live with us today.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So if you are in the audience right now and you'd like to key in your questions, please log in into your YouTube account. And if you're coming from the desktop, key in the questions towards the right-hand side in the chat box. If you are coming in from a mobile, then the chat box will be at the bottom and you can key in your questions there. So before we wait for the questions, which may take a little bit of time, let me just ask the panel some questions to start off with. And we will start with ladies first for this particular question. Cristina, what motivated you to start an online community?
Well, Janet, that's a long story, but I'll keep it short. Okay. So I was like very active in online communities in the Philippines. I was a subject matter expert in one of the biggest online communities, which was Philippines HR. And I was also a moderator for HR Philippines. So what happened was I've been receiving a lot of questions, so I just like decided to put it in one page. So that is like easier to manage and I always have like reference. Like it's more of my record. So HR Shouts and Whispers started with me just answering questions. And then I was able to grow our admins and moderator list. So sometime 2019, we changed direction to have podcasts, okay, talking about issues, not just like, focusing on complaints. Usually in the Philippines, you've got a lot of complaints, like, I hate HR. I got into trouble and can I have advice? Can I get your opinion? How to do, how to fight HR or talk to HR. So we decided to turn it around and make it more like issue oriented and more of like a preventive project thing. So that's how HR Shouts is now.
I see. Thank you for sharing, Christina. What about Max? How did you started entrepreneur.com?
Okay, so entrepreneur started about 5 years ago. I've been myself an entrepreneur for the last 15 years. And I think, this group basically started as a simple meetup on meetup.com. And basically, I was kind of frustrated at that time, not be able to meet other entrepreneurs and business founders across different industries. I was going to a lot of those meetups, and many of them were tech meetups, which was not exactly what I was looking for. I was meeting developers and people who were raising money and for new startups, and I was trying to really connect with people like me who have been running a business for a number of years across different industries. Whether you could be in fashion and consulting or retail, and I couldn't find those groups. So that's why we decided to create a meetup. We call it Entrepreneur, and then start to organize a series of get-together and seminars. We invited entrepreneurs to share their stories and share their experience in running a business. And that was 5 years ago in China. And then we start growing, and then had more and more events. We start organizing events which were beyond entrepreneurship, and also organize, bring digital marketing experts, and then it started to grow. And then at some point it was about 4 years ago, we were managing a community of about 3,000 people in Shanghai. And then at that point, I decided, okay, it's time to go to the next level. And then we start to expand internationally with a virtual community. So that was basically, the story around entrepreneur. Yeah.
So I'll come back to asking you the question about whether you have met your objectives of learning through the community itself later, Max. But let's ask Stephen, what motivated you to start community of learning?
Yeah, I started my own training company, Trillion Training, in 1994. Being an entrepreneur, I realized that learning is very important. I constantly upgrade myself. I attended a lot of seminars, but I'm an introvert, so I'm not very good in networking. So very often, I'm quite lonely in some seminars, and so in 2015, I decided that to solve this issue. So I decided to form a communities of all my friends and invited them to join me in this learning journey. So that's how I started, and very happy now it grew up to 4,000 members, and we now can collaborate together for a joint projects. Um, we also chat anytime, anywhere because we are on a Facebook group. So we chat with each other very often throughout the days. And it's just like the olden kampong days in Singapore, where people will help each other, people will share all kind of things. So we quite love the kampong spirit in community of learning. So I'm very thankful for all my members who have been with me for the last 5 years.
Great, interesting. So I will ask Max the question, then I'll ask Stephen again, then we'll get back to Christina. Max, you started entrepreneur.com to basically hit your objective of learning from the other entrepreneurs. Did you reach that objective currently?
I mean, yes, I think for a while. I think it was right at the beginning quite open and honest exchange. But then I think in the last few years, I also realized that a lot of business owners and founders and startup founders were not always willing to share and always to give back to the community. So it was also a bit frustrating for me. To continue running those discussions, because I realized there was obviously a group of people like me who were willing to give and really provide advice and help others. But there's also a lot of founders, and you might know them, which are they were kind of closed on their own success, and they don't always want to share their secret formula or their success story, because they worry that someone is going to copy them, or so this is why we kind of switched also doing more events which went more into digital marketing, teaching those same entrepreneurs and business owners on different topics, rather than just talking about entrepreneurship and how do you actually make it in running a business. Because again, you have two different type of people: those who are giving and those who are just taking without giving anything back. Yeah.
I see. Understand. Thank you for sharing. Now, Stephen, you mentioned you were introvert, and it was, to me, I think it's quite interesting, an introvert starting a community with kampong spirit and sharing. So, how does an introvert feel comfortable in a community like this? I was just wondering.
Well, you have to learn to open up yourself. But I guess it's quite easy to interact online versus offline to see face to face. So we can type on the keyboard, and I think that helps a lot. But it takes a while for me to make myself comfortable because social media is something new for us. So some of us don't post our pictures, so it takes a while for me to post it. But there's a journey, so I'm getting more confident on social media.
Yeah. So, Christina, I think the question I'd like to ask you would be more like, sometimes I read your posts. I think a lot of people, like you said, come in with a lot of grouses. How do you manage to resolve that and at the same time uplift the rest of the members within the community?
Well, Janet, I'm just like Steven. I'm an introvert. Okay, so that's a surprise. So I'm
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm much more comfortable actually chatting and writing. So that's why I get a lot of questions in a day. And I just focus on the process of resolving the conflict and also try to explain the other side to the person. Like maybe this is what happened, and then just reflect on it and go back to your HR and then try to, before going to our Department of Labor and Employment, just resolve it first, okay? And then things are always better like that. Anyway, when you do file a complaint, you will have to talk to the HR then. So, so it's the same process. So I just try to make people understand the process.
I see. Understand. So now, I think apologies to the audience. I think this platform, it does have a red banner that says that there's some issues with YouTube. So therefore, the questions are not coming up onto our platform, and therefore I cannot show your questions in the live broadcast. But I do see them in the YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask them to the panel right now. I think we have Derek that says, "Hi everyone." And the question is, how will joining an online community help me as an individual in securing a better future? So we will take this question. I think what we'll do is we start with Max, and then Stephen and Christina. Would that be okay? So Max, please.
I'm not so sure how to answer that question. I'm not so sure you will secure a better future, but I think what I can say is that it's definitely, again, I will talk on the behalf of those entrepreneurs, especially the younger ones, which are starting their business. I think there's never been a better time to actually start a business because of the pandemic. I see a lot of people which have been, out of that crisis, really, stepping back, thinking very carefully about what they're doing and spending the time to really, fine tune their business model. So I would say, yeah, joining a community, in our case, you will be able to meet other entrepreneurs and founders who have, I will not say done it, because again, this is kind of a buzzy word, but I think, who have at least experienced, the struggles and the pitfalls of being an entrepreneur, which is, as you guys know, never easy. It's a never ending journey and challenge every day. You have to work super hard for it. And then you can learn from those people. And then you can get advice. Then so you don't make the same mistakes as they did, as we all did, and then learn from that to probably accelerate your business and the way you're going to be growing with it. So that's would be my answer. Again, there's no perfect formula. There's no perfect answer to this. I think everybody has to learn from it, and also by sharing, you get probably some good feedback on what you're doing. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Max. Stephen?
I think this is a very important question for all my members as well. Why do you join a community? How can a community helps you individually? Given the current situation, I think we are facing a very volatile, uncertain, and complex and ambiguous situation right now. There are lots of challenges. They all say it's VUCA that we are facing. Now, so for individual, for if you join a community, you can have community support. You have friends, and that helps a lot in your morale. That helps you to understand you are not alone. You can talk to people. You are connected with the industry. You have friends. I think this is very important, especially when we face with challenges ahead. So, as the saying say, you will never walk alone. Borrow from Liverpool. All right, in the community, you will never walk alone. I think this is very important. We all need friends. I think that's the first reason. Second reason is that in terms of learning, community actually can help us in building up our skill sets in two ways. Firstly, we can do peer learning and mentoring. Yeah. So, for example, my specialization in social media, social learning, and business mentoring. All right, I help business to grow their performance. So with these three specialization, I actually can mentor another members on these three areas. And the other members can mentor me back in another areas that I need. For example, how do I produce video? I'm an introvert. I don't produce video at all. So I need to learn. So I exchange. Maybe I teach you. So I mentor you on social media skills. Maybe you mentor me on video skills because you are expert. We both experts, so we can do an exchange in the community. I think this is very, very powerful, especially with your fellow professional industry. You can exchange with people and do that. I think that's the second reason to join a community. The third reason is the merging of skill sets because we do have participate in many projects, and these projects require different skill sets to perform. So we can actually collaborate with other members in the community, and we can form a group to bid for the projects, and that is wonderful. And I've done a lot of collaborative projects over my past 5 years, and I'm very thankful for those people who trusted me. And we have done many, many very nice projects together, and we learn a lot. Yep. So these are the three reasons: get the moral support, get the community support, peer learning, and mentoring, and also it offers excellent collaborating opportunity in the community. And this is why it's so important to join a community at this juncture.
Great. Thanks a lot, Stephen, for your sharing. Christina, your thoughts?
Well, immediately during the pandemic, when it set in, I mean, a lot of people have been losing jobs in the Philippines. That's why in HR Shouts, we have partnered with Job Street and Remote Staff because one is if they're looking for jobs, then there's a legitimate portal that they can look for jobs because we wanted to protect our members, especially from online recruitment scams. So that's immediate. Um, Also, the way to also build it's also a way to build your skill set. You learn from the sharing of information. We learn for free. Okay, through the podcast. And then immediately also we're starting on a new project in HR Shouts. We are trying to partner with training providers to offer these trainings, not really for free, but at less cost. So right now the focus is really helping the community of members survive 2020. So that's what we can see. And then in the future, we aim to discover there are a lot of very talented Filipino HRs. So we aim to discover them and maybe partner with them. May it be like, writing content to expand the minds of our non-HR and HR members. Second is to also deliver training at least costs.
Great. Thanks a lot. We have another question from Alan Wong. He says there are so many similar online communities. Should group founders consider merging so to maintain consistent quality and content? So in this particular case, I think today I invited actually three from three separate areas. So there is not much of a conflict here. But Max, do you see any other entrepreneurial community out there?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. A lot of them actually focus, on very specific cities or countries. So you have obviously a lot of those meetups. groups online. You got those Facebook groups. You got some LinkedIn groups as well. What I can tell you is that, I mean, we left a lot of them because of, basically very poor engagement. We left Meetup for the same reason as we left Facebook, basically, and LinkedIn groups, with the fact that there was very little discussion and very, very few interaction going on. We also left Meetup because, as you know, I mean, it was bought by WeWork, 2 years ago, and that was, obviously for us a problem because we wanted to be, agnostic of any co-working space, and we wanted to run our own platform. Facebook, we did not really grow our community on Facebook because right from the beginning, being in China, obviously Facebook is being blocked here. So that was not also an option for us. And LinkedIn, I've been on LinkedIn for over 10 years, maybe close to 12 years. And all of the LinkedIn group were very active at the beginning. We've been dying off in the last few years. So yeah, there are a lot of groups. I mean, you need to, again, do your own homework and study and see which one is fits the best based on your geography or your needs. We decided about 3 years ago to run our own platform using a different platform called Mighty Network. You might know them, which is a US-based platform. And using their technology, we were able to continue and growing and providing interaction with our members. But again, yeah, there are a lot of entrepreneur groups. Everybody seems to be very focused on their own geography and their own little niche. They don't always, they're open to actually talk to you for partnership or things like that. I'm very open. I'm willing to partner with anyone who's interested in our events. As a matter of fact, when we organize our events, and we do now actually all our events online, we tend to, reach out to those communities and ask them whether they want to support it. But it's not always easy. I mean, some of them do their own events and they see you as a competitor. But bottom line, yes. I mean, there are a lot of groups out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think I agree with you, Max. I think collaboration is definitely something that can be done. So maybe from Stephen's point of view, do you have something you'd like to share?
For us, we have been the community of learning has been around for 5 years. We have accumulated a fair amount of experience um, from a community building. So in the next 5 years, our plan is to work with different communities to support them, share our experience, help them to grow, because there are many people, aspiring community builders out there who want to set up the different groups. So I'm quite open to work with, like Cristina, work with Max. Now we know each other, work with Janet. I think we can actually support each other and learn together to bring our community to the professional level. I think at this juncture, I think we need more communities, more qualities communities. We need to provide training for our community leaders. I think that is something that we should be doing moving forward for the next 5 years, because the world is very big. We need more community leaders to bring love and kindness to every part of the world. So we welcome people to join us in this journey, and I welcome definitely on any collaboration opportunity. I'm willing to contribute what I've learned. Yes.
So what about Cristina? What's your point of view?
Well, that's interesting, Janet, because somebody asked me, okay, so there are a lot of HR groups in the Philippines. What makes your group unique? Okay, so I describe it as this, okay. So you have a Mary. So we are Tallulah. We are the spicy HR. That's why we're the HRs that wear the leather jacket. And then, we're a little artistic and a little crazy. Okay, so that's what we are. Okay, we have a personality, and our podcasting, our shows are known to have like that kind of style. Because I've been in advertising, I shifted to HR, and there's a mold of HR that we want to break. And this is like the, goody two shoes, the one in wearing the suits and etc. We want to be at the HR that are, that have a personality and a relatable HR. So that's what we are. Now we've been collaborating with the bigger groups in the Philippines to also bring content to our members. And of course, I mean, that's how I met you, Janet, and then
Yes.
also I met Lawrence Young, so we're open to that.
So I totally agree with all three panelists. I think as an individual, I don't build or run communities, but I benefited by joining the different community groups. So, for instance, in this particular group, if I want to do anything on WeChat, I go to Max. That's why I participated in some of the things because I really don't know much about China and how to do it. And then if I want to learn more about the adult learning scenario in Singapore, I learned quite a bit from Stephen's group and then the HR Shouts group in Philippines. I didn't realize there were quite interesting questions that came around. So I think as an individual, we should be participating in different kinds of communities because we are multifaceted. It's not just about being a HR. It's just not about being an entrepreneur. I'm also in a speakers group. I'm because of virtual learning, I'm also going into a remote speaking group, understanding all the equipment that can be utilized.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, number one, as an individual, you need to know what you want. You join a community that fits you. Two, I think collaboration, like what all the panelists mentioned, is critical. So because it's complementary and have different strengths, even though they may be named the same title. So I think there is another question. Derek say thank you, and there's another question from Grace. Grace says, agree with Stephen, in community we can expand social learning. So that's a comment. And Alan basically said thank you. I guess it may not be merging, but the better option will be collaboration since each group have their own uniqueness and identity. So I think he agrees. So the next thing I would like to ask would be, I think some actually mentioned, I think Stephen mentioned, would be the role that you think your platform will play for an individual or business in the future, on how you want to bring your platform to the next level. I guess that's the key question that I'd like to ask. Maybe for this question, I'll start off with Cristina first.
With my admins and moderators, we've been thinking of in the far future to actually provide or write a book on HR, on Philippine HR. Because there are a lot of Western books and we're using Western references, and it's time to contextualize it in the Philippine setting. So that's the project, that's the big idea for HR Shouts.
Right. Thanks. And Stephen?
We are in the process of upgrading our community this week. So we have revisit our vision, and so we will be launching our new vision very soon. Our roles is mainly in the learning community. So our plans, I think we would like to provide our members the latest updates on industry trend on learning. We want to provide good learning contents, and we want to facilitate peer learning among our members so that members can learn from each other. And we also want to facilitate collaborative projects together. So these are the few things we'd like to do for the next 5 years. And we also will work with other communities as well to work together to bring in more interesting events and make life more interesting. And our members can participate in all kinds of activities by different communities.
Right. What about Max?
It's all right. I'm not sure. For us, we've been running for about 5 years, so we're trying to maintain the engagement level in our platform. I mean, something you haven't talked about, Janet, is how difficult it is to maintain a community.
That was the next question.
Okay, it's actually quite easy to start one. I think anybody can go on Meetup or LinkedIn or Facebook and just start a group. But to actually go to the next level, maintain it in the long run, maintain the discussion, keep it interesting, continue producing events which are relevant to your members. I mean, 5 years later, when I started 5 years ago, this group, I didn't know that we would grow that big and we would go international and we will do that many events. 6 months ago, I didn't know that we would be switching entirely online. We were doing a lot of physical in-person events across Asia, in Singapore and other cities. And then in the last 6 months, we've basically been pivoted, 100% online. So for us, it's also a problem with platform. As one of the challenge we have is how do we manage our scale right now? And we have a LinkedIn group, we have a Facebook group, we are on YouTube, we are on WhatsApp, we're trying to grow on Instagram. We have our own platform on Mighty Network. We are continuing running meetups as well. So we have so many platforms to manage at the same time. And which one is going to grow with us? Which one is not going to grow with us? I think bottom line, like I say, we want to own this community. We don't want to be relying on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn anymore, because obviously those guys are not putting too much focus in helping the communities. I don't see a lot of very cool features coming out from them. So we want to own this community if we want to scale even more. And that has been a challenge, because even the platform we use, Mighty Network, is not exactly what we want. We're a bit frustrated with the lack of new features. And if you look around, I mean, there's not a lot of good platforms that you can use to start, grow, and maintain a healthy, interesting, interactive community. There's not a lot. So it is a struggle for us also in knowing and deciding where should we go in terms of technology to support that community.
Yeah. So Max, that was actually going to be my next question. What are the challenges in, I think, building, like I think building communities and building businesses are pretty similar as well. When you're at the growth stage, it's always quite simple. Trying to maintain and then ensure engagement and longevity and sustainability is always the challenge. So Max has shared his challenges. What about Stephen? Would you care to share some of your challenges?
Okay, the one challenge is time, because we are running a community. We are also running our own business. Online community, Facebook is it's live at least for morning 8 o'clock to 11 p.m. and it's 7 days a week. You have to maintain the discussion. You have to interact with the members. Some members talk to you, so you need to have time. You need to have your passion. You really have to care for them. Otherwise, you get burnout. So I'm quite happy when members, we call each other kampong kakis. So we are friends. Kaki means friends, and they contact us. We have a discussion of one time, and we have we have a lot of fun time talking about the issue we face. I think it boils down to your passion, your energy level, your drive. So you need to have the time, your commitments. So this is a challenge for us to keep pace with the community, especially we are now at 4,000. We're going to grow to 10K within the next 5 years. 10,000 and 4,000 is a lot of different. So we are welcoming members to come forward. And how to get them come forward? How do we work together as a team? How do you set the community culture? How do you improve the quality of contents? These are some of the things, challenges that we're facing. But I believe with the talent in the community, we can actually overcome them together. Yeah.
Right. So Max's community is actually international. So for Stephen, are you actually intending to bring it to international levels for 10,000 members, or not? You'll still be focused on Singapore?
We do have members from all over the world. 90, I think at the last check, we have members from 99 cities and 30 over countries. So they are interacting with in the group. So we are international groups. Very often after this, I mean, when we set up with our vision and ready, we're going to collaborate with international groups. Definitely, we'll go global. We'll bring our members to help them. I mean, we'll help our members to grow the business international, because that is a big market out there instead of focusing on just the Singapore market. Yes.
Right.
Yep, we are going international, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Oh, Cristina, your thoughts on challenges?
Well, last January, we were just at 800 members, and right now we're at 3,600.
That's a
So,
lot.
yeah, so it actually grew, like, it doubled, tripled, yeah, at a very fast rate. So, what I can say is to just be consistent, because maintaining the quality of engagement is one of the struggles. Also, we're quite selective. We could be more. We could have been like 5,000, but we are trying to also be selective with the membership. That's why we have a membership question, and then there's a qualification. Because we are also, because we want quality engagement, it means quality. We have to get quality members. So that's one of the challenges. So hopefully, through being consistent and then also juggling it with my day job, most of my admins are also having day jobs. So let's see. It's quite an interesting and quite colorful adventure growing it.
Right. Thank you.
I think,
Yes.
Janet, if I can add something, I think the engagement is probably the number one problem for most of us. And whether you have 1,000 or 100,000 members, it's the same issue. Obviously, when you have 100,000 members, you have spam and moderation issue that you have to address. But the engagement is really, really tricky, because I think a lot of that engagement tend to happen more on physical events, and we've done a lot of them in the last few years. That engagement is still there when you do those virtual events, but a little bit less. And then when you basically try to have an engagement and have some quality discussion just on a platform outside those events, whether they're online or offline, it's very, very tricky. People tend to, like I said earlier, tend to take a lot of content. They tend to, use you as much as they can rather than giving back to the community. So there are a lot of takers. There are a lot more takers than givers. And when you have that imbalance in your membership, where people tend to, wait for you to push content or wait for someone else to give you advice, this is the attitude. It's very difficult. So how do you trigger, discussion? How do you bring those interesting questions and push your members to answer with, interesting answers, and that's tough. So we were constantly on a platform, sharing polls, asking questions, but people are lazy. They don't always answer. They don't always give back to you and contribute to the community. It's very difficult.
Yeah, true. I understand. I think we had this discussion when I was in another webinar session. I think when we talk about physical one-to-one or physical face-to-face, I think we tend to interact on a smaller group basis. So when you have a virtual event and it's targeted to a crowd of 100 or 1,000, I think it's difficult to have engagement. So the conclusion of that particular session was that when you have smaller groups of between 6 to 10 or 6 to 15, engagement level is a lot higher. Like 4 of us chatting like this, it's like a face-to-face where we may not be touching, but actually there's a lot more engagement. So I think that's a challenge, even for myself running this particular series, as to who will engage, who will watch. But to me, at that point in time when I was starting this particular series, it was a time where everybody needs help. They may not be forthcoming in terms of giving back, but I think they may be at a time that they want to receive first, and when they are ready, they will definitely be able to give back. I know I'm also one of the guilty, because I don't participate in the polls from entrepreneurs as well, quite a few times, unless the topic is interesting, then it gets me involved. But I think it's a tremendous effort from all 3 of you to try and build a community, because I think it's really, really tough, and it's a lot of commitment and passion from what we mentioned, and time really, really flies. We are at 11:36 already. So I would really like to thank you, each of you, for your time. And before we actually go off, I would like to share with the audience on today's episode how they can watch it again, as well as how they can contact you if they actually have questions. So I'm going to hide you for a little while and then share screen on the website, and then I'll come back to you. Thank you. Basically, this is the 29th episode. In the last Saturday will be the 30th episode of this particular series. So if you miss any part of this series itself, you can go to the website effectiveasianleadership.com and then click on the page Leadership During Crisis. And in there, you will come to this page where you will see up to now there are 29 episodes of this entire series, some on overcoming personal crisis, some on overcoming business crisis, either from a leadership communication perspective or a leadership strategy perspective. On the personal side, some of our guests share on how they overcome their emotional, and some share on how they overcome actually their business crisis itself. So when you scroll all the way down, you will see today's episode where we have all the three panelists, and there's a blue button at the bottom where you can click watch now. When you click on it, you will come to this page, which actually shows more details of the panelists today, their background, as well as how you can contact them. So today's episode, once it's edited, will be on this page itself, and you can watch it on some of the comments and learn from the panelists. If you have questions that you'd like to ask the panelists, I've actually put in the links for HR Shouts, for entrepreneur.com, as well as for Community of Learning Singapore, so that you can contact them. The other thing that we have done is we have launched the platform learning.corporatetrainerconnect.com, where we actually uploaded the entire series. What's the difference between this as well as what's on Effective Asian Leadership webpage itself is that you will see on this learning platform all the various courses on emotional resilience, on leadership, on communication, and of course on the leadership during crisis summit series. And in this particular uploaded version, we have categorized them either into overcoming personal crisis from an emotional or business perspective, or from a business perspective, how you can actually overcome these crises. The aim is actually to get everybody out because right now we're really in the aftermath, and these things may really go a lot worse with all the stimulus going off before it will get better. Thank you for your time. Let me invite the panelists back online again. Hi, thank you so much, Cristina, Max, and Stephen, for your time this Tuesday morning in terms of sharing your insights and experience.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome, no
Janet,
problem.
for
Yeah, you're welcome,
organizing this.
Janet.
Yeah, we enjoyed the session. Thank you, everybody here. Thank
Yeah,
you, Cristina, and nice
Let's
to
stay in
know
touch.
you, Max. Yes, we
Yeah.
should link up.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
quite sure there will be quite a interesting collaboration that will carry on. So
Yep.
goodbye, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for spending time with us.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes,
Thank you.
nice to
Thank you,
meet you
guys.
all.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet
bye.
you. Okay, take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.